Okay, dear students, we are discussing Great Depression, right? It is occurred in 1929 to 1939. This Great Depression is a worldwide economic decline that we have seen, right? Here, during this Great Depression, people suffered a lot. Yesterday we discussed it. There was a employment unemployment, and there was a closure of industries, and the purchasing power of the people reduced. Then farmers are also faced a lot of trouble because whatever they cultivated they were not able to sell. Further fall in the price due to the fall in the demand and lack of purchasing capacity of the people. In this way, 25 percentage of the American people turned to unemployed, and 33 percentage of the people all over the world were unemployed, and that led to rise the prices up to 60 percentage in the market. So millions of the people turned to facing poverty. So this was the situation. About this situation, there was a discussion, argument throughout the world, especially economists and politicians. They discussed about what is the reason for this situation, how to overcome it, right? So here we have seen that there were different views. Marxist economists stated that it is the capitalism that capitalism is a reason for worldwide economic decline, what we call Great Depression or economic depression. They stated that it could be prevented replacing capitalism with socialism. Some other economists like J.M. Keynes, they argued that state have a great responsibility in this situation, and it has to provide the employment opportunity by allocating funds in generating the employment when the demand declines. Then to keep continuity of a demand, there the state have a responsibility in allotment of funds in generating the employment. That is the argument of the J.M. Keynes. So throughout the world, there were discussions, debates, arguments that how to overcome this Great Depression. So in all the discussions, there the Franklin Roosevelt, the President of America, he introduced the New Deal policy, which bring the nations from what to call worldwide economic decline. It consisted of 3 R's, right? That is relief to the victims of a depression, reform of a financial institutions, and steps to ensure economic recovery, right? These were the three principles we seen, which were in New Deal policy, right? Franklin D. Roosevelt was the president of America, understand? What to call stated this policy. So based on that, there they have gone for investing funds in large public works, right? So especially we see that war, that is Second World War. Second War itself helped to come out of the Great Depression in America. Here we see that there we have seen that here there in America they established one social security system that is giving universal retirement pension to the retired workers, social security, and who are unemployed, for them giving unemployment doles or insurance. So such activities, some this type of activities carried in many nations like US, Britain, and these activities carried created a new idea that the states should have welfare states. Okay, a state must be a welfare state. Understand? So in this way, we see that a new idea that is welfare state has come into the world, and towards this end of the second world war, Britain also introduced after the end of the, that means before just or during 1930 uh, 1939 to 1945 is a second world war period. So during this period there Britain too introduced many of the schemes under a welfare state. Those are what to call health schemes, sickness coverages, unemployment doles, health schemes, child care. Like these are introduced to make an idea of a welfare state and to provide dignity for all citizens. There should be minimum basic needs how to be fulfilled. Those are most elementary needs, that is food, housing, health, child care, old age care. All these have given an idea for a welfare state. And whoever people among the people whoever have the capacity of working, for them work should be provided. It is the responsibility of the state. So this Great Depression, which occurred in the world from 1929 to 1939, created many of the nations to think that modern states must and should be welfare states. So the idea of a welfare state originated here, right? The next, what happened during the Great Depression in Germany instead? Well, look that how was Germany in Great Depression? Dear students, there the Germany faced a severe crisis after the World War, after the World War One. You know that very important treaty, that is a Treaty of Versailles. It is made. It is this taken. The Treaty of Versailles is a main treaty taken between victorious countries and defeated countries at Versailles, and that was a burden under the Treaty of Versailles. Victorious nations, that is Britain, France, America, these nations have imposed great penalty on Germany. They, their intention was to punish the Germany because Germany was a reason for World War One, right? So with the Treaty of Versailles, many rigid conditions or strict conditions laid on Germany. In that, some amount, that is war indemnity. Many nations suffered due to the World War One, so those nations should recover from the damages. and it was Germany as a reason for World War One. So victorious nations under Treaty of Versailles imposed a condition that German Germany has to pay war damages for all the nations. Okay, it has to recover itself from the damages occurred in the World War One. First thing for that Germany that is. Second thing, Germany was asked to pay a large amount of money as a war indemnity, that what we call compensation to the defeated, to the countries which it destroyed, which faced trouble in World War One. Second point. Third point, Germany was asked to pay a huge amount of financial resources, that is money, to the victorious countries, right? And like this, several conditions were laid. So after this, after the Treaty of Versailles, Great Depression started in the world. So every country was suffering with the Great Depression a lot. Already Germany was in a worst situation. It was a bad situation. It was in a bad condition, right? It had to pay millions of money, millions of rupees to the victorious countries and other nations. At the same time, it suffered with the Great Depression. So it is very difficult situation for the Germany. So to overcome all these things, the German government decided to print currency notes on a large scale to meet all its requirements and fulfill the conditions laid by the victorious countries under Treaty of Versailles. So here they printed currency on a large scale. So what happens when currency is printed on a large scale? It leads to inflation. Inflation is a situation where the price of the goods will increase and the value of money decreases. Inflation refers to continuous rise in the prices and fall in the value of money. So as they printed a large as they printed currency on large scale, that resulted inflation. Look at this point. With this, you can understand that the situation here, it is said that the people have to carry currency in carts to buy one loaf of bread. Means a large amount of money they carried in bags, taking in the cart, a bullock cart, maybe a truck, and to buy just one loaf of bread. To get a piece of bread, they carried large amount of money. It means that the bread price was very much in the market. So there was a rise in the prices of the commodities and the value of money decreased. So the continuous rise in the prices of the commodities and fall in the value of currency or money is called inflation. So inflation started in Germany. Germany economy was worst hit by the depression. So by 1932, the industrial production was reduced to the 40 percentage of the 1929 level. Before 1929, the production was good, and whatever they produced by 1929, in that 40 percentage of production was achieved by the Germany in 1939. It is enough to say that how much production has come down due to the Great Depression and to fulfill all the terms of a Treaty of Versailles. Workers lost their jobs and they were paid very low wages. You know that during the corona time, our government have gone for reducing the wages of many government employees. The government teachers salaries were cut down, right? It is not cut down; those were reduced. So similar to this, what we are facing now at a corona, that is a COVID-19 situation. At that time, in 1929, during the Great Depression time, many workers' wages were reduced. Near about 6 million people were unemployed in Germany. 6 million. It means 60 lakh workers were thrown out of employment. They were not able to find work. Understand? So as there was no work, there the people they moved on the streets. You know, they were playing placards. It was a situation, in the on the streets of Germany. In the streets of the Germany, workers they were moving in the streets carrying a board in their neck. That what you call a placard. You know what is placard? We use placards in the rally, writing some demands. So they also worn placards in their necks. And what was written on that placard? It was that willing to do any work, willing to do any work. They are ready to do any work. But there was no work in that situation. Have you heard in the newspaper and news channel in the present situation? Many teachers have gone for labor work. There is no employment to the teachers, especially private teachers. Understand? The corona situation has gone forward, taking the jobs of many millions of the people. So here too, during the Great Depression time in Germany, many people were thrown out of the employment and they want employment. So the people started moving in the streets of the Germany using a placard in their neck, and on that it was written willing to do any work. And here we see that they were not getting any job, right? Here it was that simply in the streets, corners, the people sat there and they were making a line, a queue in front of the employment exchange. What is employment exchange? It is a organization which provides employment to all unemployed people, right? So everyone has gone standing up in a line to enroll their names with the employment exchange in order to get a job if anywhere work is there. Understand? So as there were the few jobs, there was a competition to get that job also. Have you heard in the newspaper during this COVID-19 time, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme is going on, right? So it was some 30 or some 40,000 workers were there in the general time, but during the COVID time, it has gone for near about more than some approximate, not accurate, approximately some lakhs of members have enrolled their name to the what under the scheme what you call Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Work. That is a employment guarantee program which is organized by the government. So under that scheme, many people have got many people have gone for what enrolling their names instant. So there was a shortage of work, but many people are ready to do work. That was the situation. Okay, so how many people will find the work, right? Very little, right? A few sections in the unemployed workers have got a job. Then what about others? Other people failed to find the job. They took up criminal activities instead, stealing the water chains from the women, uh, robbing, kidnapping someone. Like this, criminal activities increased in Germany. So this was the situation in Germany during the Great Depression, and it was totally despair in the society. There was no hope. There was a deep anxieties and fear in the people that they would not be recovered from the situation. Okay, and the savings of the middle class people. Middle class people, they'll go on saving their money in the banks. They've feared of their savings, and salaried employees, they too suffer. Pensioners, those are getting pensions, their pension is reduced. Salaried employees, salaries were reduced, okay, diminished when the currency lost its value. What you call, the currency value has decreased, so that pensioners pension, salaries of the employees were reduced. Many small businessmen and self-employed people and retailers, they suffered great losses in their business. These sections of the society were filled with fear of pauperization. These people who were in the middle class, who were employees, who were getting pension, they felt fear that their position is decreasing and they are falling into the poverty, that too, what to call severe poverty, that is called pauperization. So an anxiety started among the people as their category is going to reduce, right? Some who are above the working class people, thus such people felt that they are going to fall into the working class category, understand? So there is a completely worse situation of the unemployed people. Only organized sector workers, organized sector workers in the sense those are working under government, they were able to survive because they were under government sector, and they were getting their wages, their salaries, as they are under a organized sector instead. So they could manage themselves and protect their families, right? But unemployment reduced their bargaining power. That means they were not able to argue with what you call sellers regarding their goods. Big business were fell into the crisis, and the peasant population was affected by sharp fall of agriculture price. Agriculture price decreased because nobody was ready to buy the produce, agriculture produce, because there is no purchasing capacity of the people. Women were unable to fill their children's stomach. What I am explaining, how was the situation during Great Depression time in Germany. Okay, you can understand the situation of this Great Depression applying and comparing with the present COVID-19 situation. So many of the families were not able to fill their children's stomach, right? Many are out of the employment. So this was the situation, and they were filled with a kind of anxiety, fear, and that led to political instability. When people not able to find their basic needs, when people are unable to find work, right? What do? They go on organizing protest against the what government, understand? So we see here what to call, there the people started a protest against the government that caused political instability. So there led that led to revolution there. So government after government failed because no government was stable in power, overcoming the what this Great Depression, especially in Germany. So this was the situation, my dear students, in Germany instead. So to overcome from this, there a new ideology developed in Germany, that is Nazism. Similar to this, we find another ideology in uh, Italy, that is a fascism. Okay, so during the Great Depression time, we see that to overcome that one, some leaders, especially Adolf Hitler in Germany and Benito Mussolini in Italy, they moved with two ideologies. In Germany, Nazism and Fascism at Italy. These were the ideologies developed after the World War in defeated countries. You know, Italy, Germany, Austro-Hungary. These were in one block. That is a triple alliance. So they were defeated in the World War One, right? So after their defeat, they have gone for establishing a new ideology. Understand? So what is that we see here? What is Nazism and what is fascism? The names are different, but the ideology is same. Okay, fascist. That means they given importance to the idea of a national unity. It was highest priority, that is national unity in fascism and Nazism, and to what to call it emphasized, that means fascism or Nazism emphasized the idea of national unity. And why it is needed national unity? They want to build unity among the people to achieve what to call it, to get success on other nations. They want unity among the people in order to defeat other nations. So what we call it is aggressive nationalism. Are they want a national unity to build their nation? No, they want a nationality among the people in order to build their supremacy throughout the world. So they demanded nationality to expand what to call their power over other nations, right? That is the first point in fascism and Nazism. Understand? And fascists, they did not allow any conflict. Any conflict in the sense they don't want that nobody should conflict and dispute the ideas of the fascist or Nazist ideologies. They don't want different interest within the nations. All the nations, sorry, all the people in the nation should stand for one interest, that is as per the Nazism and fascism. Nazist and fascist ideas are that they want to rule the world. So that should be the interest of the people. People also should think of that one. That means people interests are not considered. People were not given importance for their interest. They suppress the people by force. That is ensuring absolute loyalty. Everyone should show loyalty, obedience to the central power, to the nation. No one should go against the central power. It is absolute power. What we call autocratic rule, they established and stand. So, what are the main ideas of this either fascism or Nazism, right? The first one is they want national unity to win over other nations, right? And they did not, second, they did not allow different interests within the nations, right? Within the nation, they should not be varied interests, understand? Third is that they suppressed the people by force. Whoever opposed the what to call ideas and ideology of the fascism and Nazism, right? And fourth is that they wanted absolute loyalty and obedience to the central power. Fifth is that they were against both communism and liberalism. Dear students, here we see that France, Britain, America, they given importance to liberal capitalism. They believed in liberalism, right? Whereas Russia believed in communism. What about these Italy and Germany? They believed in totalitarianism. They wanted to bring everything under their control. They want to make world under their control. They want to see their supremacy over the world. They want to dominate the they want to establish their domination and supremacy all over the world, right? So that is what a dictatorial rule they want to implement throughout the world. So these were the ideas, understand, in what you call fascism and Nazism. You will be asked a question that what are the main points of Nazism or fascism, right? Then you should write all these points, 5 points what I have said stated to you. Okay, fascists wanted to build unity in their nations through a dictatorial state. Okay, they want to build unity among the people with a dictatorial power in which there is no freedom to the people. There is no consideration to the people's opinion. They want a strong devotion to the strong leader, that is Hitler, and they demanded extreme nationalism and military conquest. Extreme nationalism in the sense aggressive nationalism. That means the people of those nations should strive for waging war on other nations. People should develop an attitude of hatred towards other nations. And people should think of waging war on other nations. People should support the military to wage war on other nations. So, military conquest, extreme nationalism, that is aggressive nationalism, were given due important in fascism and ideology in Nazism. Fascism used political violence, war, and conquest as a means to achieve the national revival. A nation should revive, a nation should develop. So, what are the ways to revive the nation and develop the nation? The ways are that it should wage war on other nations. That is called national revival, in their opinion, and they should occupy other nations. Then only their nation will revive, understand? So these are the what ideas they followed. And it also stated that a stronger nation have the right, and indeed it is a duty of a stronger nation to expand their territory by displacing or defeating the weaker nations. Is it the right thing? Huh? It's not the right, a stronger nation should support weaker nations, right? A nation which is strong, it should help the weaker nation. So that is the right point here. That can be called justified. But whoever is strong, yeah, using their power on weaker nations to defeat them is not called justified one. It is unfair, right? But they believe that it is justified. They say that whoever is strong, the nation which is strong, has the right to rule the world and establish supremacy all over the world. So such ideas they followed in the fascism and Nazism. Understand? And for this, they have gone for what? State-controlled capitalism, and opposed socialism and communism. Everything should be under the control of a state. It is different with the capitalism. Dear students, in capitalism, we see that capitalist persons are given freedom. But whereas in this fascist country, that is Italy, Nazist country, that is Germany, they have given importance to the state. State should control everything, and they opposed socialism and communism. There should not be socialism, communism in their nations, and they also abolished all private industries. In our India, we see that the private sector and government sector, right? Public sector. But in these nations at that time, they did not allow private sectors. Understand? That means they wanted to control everything. The state should control everything. Understand? So this was the what ideology. Understand? And this ideology was very popular in the defeated countries who were feeling insulted because of the conditions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. Germany, Germany was under a Treaty of Versailles, right? Strict conditions were laid on Germany. We'll discuss what are the conditions laid on Germany in the causes of Second World War. Okay, a few points I said that. What it was asked to pay war indemnity to other nations. It was asked to pay a huge amount of money for victorious countries. What Germany has to pay, that all the things. Germany was asked to maintain a very limited army. Its army was 9 lakh, and it was asked to reduce to 1 lakh. See, that was the conditions they laid. And all these conditions were laid on Germany by what you call on their own. While making agreement with Germany, Germany was not invited. The victorious countries on their own drafted the conditions on Germany without consulting to the Germany. And why did not they invite Germany? Because it was defeated. It was the reason for World War One. So Germany, which was defeated in the World War One, felt that it was insulted with the Treaty of Versailles. Understand? So this Germany, which is defeated in the World War One, thought that to take revenge on those nations which imposed conditions uh, which were very rigid one. Understand? So here we see in the defeated countries this idea was very strong. Which idea? Fascism and Nazism, right? These are very popular. These ideologies, fascism and Nazism, were very popular in defeated countries. Understand? Right? It was first it was began what to call with Mussolini, Benito Mussolini in Italy in 1920 in Italy in 1922, and Hitler in Germany with his Nazi party. They came to power in Germany by 1933. General Franco, who also what you call believing in the ideology of fascism, came to power in Spain. Okay, and in Japan too, we see that they followed totalitarianism, and they occupied militarism became very strong idea, and with that they have gone for occupying China and Korea. All these dictators, they implemented their ideology in some way. Instead, this is what you call the topic we discussed. We are running out of the session.